Thank you so much for being here once again, and we appreciate your time. My name is Lucia Obregon. I will be your moderator today. I work for the Mission Economic Development Agency as the organizing manager, and you have my contact there. We are the Immigrant Parent Voting Collaborative, and we are a nonpartisan group whose goal is to educate immigrant parents citywide on their right to vote for school board. We have 8 members of the collaborative, which I'm going to name. Um, we, um, we are the African Advocacy Network, the Arab Resource and Organizing Center, Chinese for Affirmative Actions, Central American Resource Center, Coleman Advocates for Children and Youth, La Raza Community Resource Center, the Mission Economic Development, and Mission Graduates. All of our amazing partners are here to assist and answer any questions. In 2021, the Board of Supervisors voted to make the right of non-citizen parents to vote in SFUSD school board elections permanent. This means that all non-citizen parents who qualify to vote can register now for the February 15th, 2022 school board elections. This victory has taken decades of grassroots organizing by immigrant parents and nonprofit partners. We are here to celebrate and uplift the voices of immigrant parents in a time when voting rights are under attack across the nation. San Francisco has taken a stance to say that everyone's voice matters. We understand that there can be many barriers to registering and voting, but the message that our collaborative wants to send to our communities is that we are stronger when we all participate. So if we can't vote, or if you can't vote, we can still get involved. And there are many ways to get involved. And and you can go to any one of these organizations to find out how you can do that. So we're going to continue through our program. There will be a Q&A at the end. So stick around if you have any questions for our panelists or any member of our collaborative that can be here. So our next speaker is Supervisor Myrna Melgar from District 7, another sponsor of this law. Thank you, Supervisor, for making the time and being here.
Thank you, Lucia. I'm so happy to be here. Buenos días a todos. I'm Supervisor Myrna Melgar from District 7. I am the first Latina to be elected to the Board of Supervisors in 25 years. And, I think that voting is one of the most fundamental building blocks of participating in a civic society. I am an immigrant who came to this country as a child. I was 12 years old, and I remember so clearly having to translate for my parents at school so that they would understand what was going on and the decisions that were being made by the administration on their behalf. I think it is just a basic right that folks have to participate in, weigh in on the decisions that are being made. And I am so proud to work with my wonderful colleague, Supervisor Connie Chan, to pave the way for participation for immigrant parents. Let me just say also how important it is in terms of building a pipeline of leadership. MEDA, AROC, Carecen, all of these organizations have been working with families to build leadership so that folks can weigh in on decisions, not just about their families and kids, but how we live together as a society in this wonderful city of San Francisco. And I think this will pave the way for folks learning and exercising decision-making skills, which will set them up to be the next commissioners, supervisors, mayors of our city. And I think it's really wonderful that we are doing this and that all of your work is going to pave the way for folks to fully participate in our city. Thank you so much for all the work you do. Adelante, and I'm so proud to be a part of this. And I'm looking forward to hearing from Supervisor Connie Chan.
Thank you once again, Supervisor Melgar, and for being such a strong supporter and ally of this movement. So up next, we have Supervisor Connie Chan from District 1, another sponsor of this legislation. Thank you for your time, Supervisor Connie Chan. Hopefully, yeah, we were able to get you. Hello. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And I agree, after 2 years, still technical difficulty on my end too, from time to time. So I really appreciate everybody's patience here. I really appreciate everyone's partnership from just community outreach to where we're at today, and definitely my great colleague, Supervisor Mirna Malgar, just having her on the board, who is a fellow first generation immigrant, truly understand the lived experience of communities of color and be able to bring that voice to the table time and time again, both in the legislative chamber, but also outside of City Hall. And I cannot ask for a better legislative partner than Supervisor Mirna Malgar. And voting is our voice. Our vote is our voice. And it is critical for us to push forward to make sure that everyone has a voice at the table. I came to San Francisco when I was 13 years old to live in Chinatown with my mom, a single mom, monolingual parent, learning how to speak English and adjusting to the new city that we were in. And just to think about, as a mom trying to get her kids through school and have the best education that she could provide to her children, and trying to understand and maneuver the education system, and how critical it was for her to have information in her language so that can really understand the choices that she was making for her children, but also be able to exercise her right and have her voice at the table too, to decide the future for her children and what their education could look like. So when I was working on this legislation, and really thanks to my legislative aide, Frances Shea, for all her hard work on this, I'm really thinking about my mom. Even though now I'm a mom too of a third grader and a public school students, but because of my mom, I get to have so much more privilege in San Francisco than she ever experienced. So she was who I was thinking about when we talk about non-citizen voting for parents and guardians to participate in our education and school system. So thank you so much for continue pushing it forward. I'm really here to say, don't forget to register to vote, whether you are a citizen or non-citizen or not. It is very critical. Our vote is our voice, and let's push it forward. Thank you so much for all your partnership and hard work. I also want to say though, the work is not done. There's so much more to do, and we need to continue to push forward. And so let's make sure that we stand together and continue to do this work and not give up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Chan. And you are completely right. The work is not done. The work has just begun. We are going to hear from some of our community advocates next. These are directly impacted community members, and we are going to hear from their experience and their testimony around this legislation. First, we have a Mission Graduates Promotora. If you are interested in contacting anybody, there you have the contact information right here in this slide. So if we can pull up our first Mission Graduates Promotora.
Hi.
Hola.
Hola. Hola, Norma.
Sí,
Muy
perdón.
bien.
Hola, Norma.
Aquí batallando con la tecnología. Pero bueno, buenos días. Estoy muy feliz de estar aquí participando, ¿verdad? Empoderándome y para empoderar a más padres. Entonces, pues yo me llamo Norma y trabajo como promotora de Mission Graduates.
Thank you. I'm going to be interpreting for Norma. I want to say thank you for letting me be here and for allowing me to speak about the work that I do to help empower the parents. And my name is Norma, and I work for Mission Graduates as a promotora.
Sí, mi trabajo como madre y madre líder es ayudando a padres de escuelas públicas.
So as a parent, as a parent and also as work with mission graduates, I help other parents who are in public schools,
Apoyando a mejorar su participación en la educación de sus hijos.
and I help those parents to work with their schools to improve the education for their kids.
Participé en la campaña exitosa para que se aprobara la proposición N en el 2016.
I actually was part of the campaign that was successful to get Proposition N passed in 2016.
Y como dijo la compañera Lucía, a partir del 2021 esta ley fue otorgada permanentemente.
And as Lucia mentioned, in 2021, this right was actually made permanent.
Es muy importante como padres inmigrantes aprender más, tener más información sobre lo que hace la Mesa Directiva de Educación del Distrito de San Francisco.
It's really important for us as immigrant parents to learn more and get more information about what the school board in San Francisco actually does.
Porque es la que toma decisiones que afectan profundamente a la educación de nuestros hijos.
Because actually the school board makes some pretty important decisions that affect deeply our kids' education.
Ahora la ciudad de San Francisco está mostrando con sus acciones que todos los padres de las escuelas públicas tenemos el derecho a participar en estas decisiones.
Now, the city of San Francisco is actually showing with its own actions that all of the parents that are in public schools have the right to participate in these decisions.
No importa el estado migratorio.
And it doesn't matter their immigration status.
Aún si los padres no deciden votar por cualquier razón, todavía pueden participar de otras formas, de otras maneras. Como ejemplo,
So parents can participate, even if they actually choose not to vote for whatever reason, they can still participate in some of these other ways. For example,
es involucrarse en los comités de ILA en sus escuelas. Es una manera muy importante y muy bonita de estar informándose y participando para mejorar la educación de nuestros hijos.
one way is to become part is to join an ELAC at a kid's school, which is an important way to be a part of the improvement of education at your school and in the community.
Y también mejoramos nuestras comunidades.
And helping out not just in the school but in the community.
Bueno, también otra forma de participar es en el foro de candidatos para la mesa directiva del Distrito Escolar de San Francisco.
Another way that people have been able to participate in this has been to participate in candidate forums for a school board here in San Francisco.
Yo he participado y me he involucrado, pues una fecha importante es el 2018, cuando fue el foro de candidatos, pude darme cuenta que es muy importante conocer las propuestas que nos trae cada uno de ellos.
So I participated in candidate forums. In particular, I'm thinking of one that I went to in 2018, where I was able to hear directly from the different proposals that each of the candidates had.
Para así yo pude conocer e informarme cómo ellos van a abogar por la educación y las necesidades de nuestros hijos.
And then by doing so, I could learn more about how exactly it is that each of those candidates would advocate and work to improve and meet the needs of our kids in schools.
Porque como madre y como madre empoderando más padres, es muy importante que nuestros hijos tengan una educación eficiente y beneficiosa.
Because as a parent, and especially as a parent that works to help other parents to lift up their voices, I think it's really important that we together advocate for a more efficient and a more an education system that actually works to support our kids.
Me siento informada por yo haber participado y escuchado a cada uno de los candidatos en la mesa directiva de San Francisco.
So I felt like I walked away feeling informed and actually listened to as well by the candidates for school board.
Y pude elegir el que más se acopla a las necesidades de la educación de nuestros hijos, de nuestros estudiantes.
And as a result, I was better able to make a decision about who would be the candidate that would most align with what my kids' needs were.
Yo los invito, padre, a involucrarse en la mesa directiva del distrito, en las filas de sus escuelas, en los foros de candidatos y en las comunidades.
So I would invite you parents to participate in the conversations at the school board level, participate in the ELACs at your children's school, go to a candidate forum when they're organized, and that way you're becoming more involved in the community.
El poder que tenemos como padre es muy importante y es muy valioso. Muchas gracias por escucharme y los invito a seguir participando. Gracias.
As a parent, your power is really important, and it's very, very valuable. Thank you for listening to me, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Muchas gracias por tu voz y por tu testimonio. Thank you so much for that wonderful testimony. Up next, we have the outreach specialist for the Chinese for Affirmative Action. If we can have our panelists join the spotlight, and we will also have a translator. Hello.
Hello，大家好。
Hello, everyone.
Hi，大家好。我係3個小朋友，有3個小朋友喺聯合校區讀書嘅家長。咁我係叫阿怡啊。
Hi, everyone. I'll be translating for Ayi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ayi, and I'm a parent of 3 children that attend San Francisco Unified School District.
我係從2016年開始認知呢個非公民家長投票嘅信息。當時我只係嚟美國只係2年，本嚟對美國嘅教育制度係毫無認知嘅移民家長。
I began to learn about non-citizen parent voting in 2016, during my first 2 years after immigrating to the United States. At the time, I had no prior understanding of the American education system.
唔知道自己嘅聲音原來可以影響到自己嘅孩子喺學校得到更多公平嘅優質嘅教育嘅權利，以及可以得到喺校區委員會選舉投票嘅權利。所以後嚟我就加入咗華促會，做咗非公民家長投票嘅外展員，去支持呢個非公民家長嘅投票。
I wasn't aware that my voice and involvement could affect and influence the quality and success of my children's schooling, including the possibility of having the right to vote in the school district's Board of Education election as a non-citizen. I became a community educator and leader with Chinese for Affirmative Action to promote and advocate for the right to vote as an immigrant parent in San Francisco.
呢個經歷令我收穫咗十分豐富。首先呢，我更加積極去參與子女學校嘅會議，大膽咁去發表自己嘅建議，增強咗自己嘅自信同埋別人溝通嘅能力。通過呢個培訓，令我更加了解更加多關於美國投票權嘅歷史同埋校區嘅運作模式。
I've gained a lot from my involvement in non-citizen parent voting. I've learned to be actively involved at my children's school meetings, to confidently express my own concerns and suggestions, to enhance my self-confidence, and to effectively communicate with others in parent spaces. I was also able to study and understand the history of suffrage in the United States and how our school system operates.
然後我自己把學到嘅知識咧，再去分享俾其他嘅家長，鼓勵更多家長去明白非公民家長投票嘅重要性，積極參加投票嘅資訊共享，同時積極參加學校同埋教育委員會嘅會議。
I then further share what I've learned with other parents, encourage them to understand the importance of non-citizen parent voting, actively participate in outreach and voting, and get involved in their school's different committee meetings.
我而家咧最開心嘅咧就係通過大家一齊嘅努力，令我哋嘅非公民家長投票喺2021年咧已經成為永久嘅法案。
I'm thrilled that last year in 2021, our collective community was able to make non-citizen parent voting permanent in San Francisco.
令更多非公民家長能夠參與校區委員會嘅選舉，令美國嘅移民問題不再兩極分化。多謝大家。
This will encourage more non-citizen parents to participate in the Board of Education elections and also demonstrates the support for our immigrant communities during these polarizing times in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing your words with us. We appreciate it so much. And up next, we have our promotora from Carecen. And once again, we will also have translation for this. So if we can have our panelists join us.
Buenos días a todos y a todas. Soy un miembro de la comunidad inmigrante, soy latina y soy madre. He estado involucrada desde el principio de la iniciativa para ejercer el derecho de los padres y tutores para votar y elegir miembros de la mesa directiva escolar de San Francisco.
I will be translating for Carecen's promotora. Good morning. I am an immigrant, a Latina, and also a mother. I've been involved from the start in the effort to pass non-citizen voting for the San Francisco School Board elections.
Durante los últimos años he visto la necesidad de tener servicios de forma inmediata al alcance de todas las familias. Cuando cerraron las escuelas hace casi 2 años, el miedo y la ansiedad en los niños aumentaron debido a la incertidumbre de la situación. Muchas emociones y necesidades surgieron y no hubo apoyo para manejar todo esto.
Over the years, I have seen a need for relevant and accessible school services for families. When they closed schools almost 2 years ago, fear and anxiety increased in children because of the uncertainty of the situation. There were many emotions and needs students had, and there just wasn't sufficient support to deal with the situation.
Ser padre de esta iniciativa nos ha dado la oportunidad de crear una mejor educación para nuestros hijos. Con este voto podemos impactar cosas importantes como los servicios para apoyar estudiantes con una variedad de necesidades, servicios para apoyar estudiantes y padres que hablan inglés como un segundo idioma, incrementar la disponibilidad y el acceso del apoyo para la salud mental de los estudiantes, particularmente en tiempos de una pandemia.
Being part of this work to educate non-citizen parents and caregivers a chance to actively be engaged in improving the education of our children. With the right to vote, we can now have a say in important issues such as support services for students with different and varied needs, services to support students and parents who speak English as a second language, and also increase and make more accessible mental health supports for students, especially as a result of the pandemic.
Ser padre inmigrante viene con desafíos de aprender una nueva cultura y cómo navegar un nuevo sistema educativo. En muchas situaciones hay obstáculos que hacen que el sistema no sea accesible. Me involucré en mi comunidad para asegurar un futuro mejor para nuestros hijos, entender el sistema escolar mejor, superar los retos y tener una voz para afectar la política de las escuelas. Gracias por darme un espacio donde puedo compartir mi experiencia y la importancia de tener este derecho al voto. Gracias.
Immigrant parents face unique challenges such as learning a new culture and how to navigate a new education system. Oftentimes, there are many barriers that make it difficult to access and navigate the system. I became a parent and community leader so that I can make a difference in the education of our children, understand the system better, and overcome the barriers, and have a voice in shaping policies that affect their education. Thank you for letting me share my experiences and thoughts on this, on the importance of non-citizen voting.
And thank you, gracias a ti, for sharing your words and your testimony and why this is very important to you. And up next, we have some local and national allies. First, we have Ron Hayduck, Professor of Political Science at San Francisco State University. Welcome, Ron.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, Immigrant Parent Collaborative, Voting Collaborative, and Supervisors for your leadership. You give lovers of justice, inspiration, and hope during these challenging times. While parts of the country have moved to restrict voting rights, you have moved firmly to expand voting rights, showing what an inclusive, multiracial democracy looks like. So thank you and congratulations on your effort. Research shows that when given the opportunity, immigrants do, in fact, participate in politics. And when immigrants participate, they democratize public policy making, ensuring it reflects their interests. Moreover, studies of cities in the United States and in other countries show immigrant voting contributes to improvements in education and other public services we all depend on. Nor is San Francisco alone in expanding voting rights to immigrants. San Francisco joins 14 other jurisdictions in the United States that provide immigrants access to the ballot, including 11 towns in Maryland, 2 in Vermont, and New York City. Nor is immigrant voting new in our history. Most people are surprised to learn that from 1776 to 1926, that's the majority of the country's history, 40 states at some point in time allowed immigrants to vote, not just in local elections, but also in state and even federal elections. And immigrants could also hold office, and they did so to good effect. I like to remind people that immigrant voting is as American as apple pie and older than baseball and football. Your effort not only seeks to restore what was common practice, it inspires people in other cities who similarly seek to restore immigrant voting, including in Washington, DC, Chicago, San Jose, Portland, Maine, and other cities here in California and other states. Nor is immigrant voting peculiar to the United States. Globally, 45 countries on nearly every continent allow immigrants to vote in local, regional, and even national elections. So not only are you not alone, you embody and reflect a movement for human rights that seeks to make immigrant rights real, as the scholar Els deGraw so aptly put it. So again, thank you for your leadership and congratulations.
Thank you so much, Professor Hayduck. That was a very powerful historical reference, and we appreciate your words. And up next, we actually have someone from our one of our national allies from our city, our Vote Coalition, led by United Neighborhood Houses. Her name is Lena Cohen. And as you know, New York just passed the right to vote for all non-citizens to vote in local elections. So they are leading the charge in this effort. And we are so happy to have you here to share a little bit about your experience.
Thank you so much, Lucia, and thank you, Ron, for speaking before me, and to all of the fellow advocates and community members here today. It is such a pleasure to be here. My name is Lena Cohen. I represent United Neighborhood Houses of New York, and we are a policy and social change organization representing 45 neighborhood-based settlement houses that serve about 765,000 New Yorkers each year from all walks of life. So at a time when places across the country are limiting access to the polls, we're here with you in San Francisco to celebrate this permanent expansion of voting rights for non-citizen parents in San Francisco. I mean, the upcoming school board election on February 15th is huge. It's a landmark opportunity for parents to really have a say on these policies that impact their lives and the lives of their children the most. It's great because in cities like San Francisco, as well as where I'm from in New York City, we know that voting really is the central avenue for strengthening our democracy. And that's why in December of 2021, so very recently, New York City did pass a law that will usher in the largest enfranchisement of New Yorkers in more than a century. This marks a bold step forward in the fight for protecting and expanding our democracy, not only in San Francisco, New York, but across the country. And our victory was due in large part to the group of advocates and parents with us here today. New York lawmakers were much more comfortable passing our non-citizen voting bill, knowing San Francisco had already paved the way. So now it's really time for San Francisco to hear from all of its residents. I'm so proud to be back here with you all to spread the word about the upcoming election and to make sure that everyone who can vote can do so on February 15th. So thank you so much for having me, and I'll pass it back to Lucia.
Thank you once again for this, and we're so excited for New York to have this expanded right. And now we're going to transition to our city allies and partners. First, we have Richard Whipple, Deputy Director of Office of Civic Engagement and Immigrant Affairs, who is our partner in this work. Welcome, Richard.
Hi, everyone. So nice to be with you today. Rich Whipple, Office of Civic Engagement and Immigrant Affairs. And just if you don't know, the Office of Civic Engagement and Immigrant Affairs is a policy, compliance, direct services, and grant-making office. But we're really focused on promoting inclusive policies such as this one, and immigrant assistance programs that really look at the full civic, economic, and linguistic integration for all of our residents. So SIA definitely celebrates this important milestone in immigrant civic engagement. And we thank our community partners and city leaders for making this a permanent opportunity for our immigrant community members and residents. Immigrant parent voting for us is a critical, important step in really centering and supporting immigrant voices in our work, but also in our local institutions. And we also think it's really about putting our values into action. San Francisco is a welcoming city. We are an immigrant-friendly city. We often talk the talk about what we do for our immigrant communities, and it's important that we follow with these actionable opportunities and pathways to really enable folks to participate and to really put our values into reality. We also view this important immigrant parent voting opportunity as an important piece of a larger framework to really support immigrant inclusion and to identify various ways that residents can really connect to local government and to really feel part of local government decisions. So this important milestone joins other city opportunities and policies such as our municipal ID card program, our sanctuary city ordinance, our language access ordinance, and also recently Prop C, which allows immigrant participation on city boards and commissions. So we're really grateful and celebrate this milestone that's bringing this together under this important movement for immigrant civic participation, and appreciate again all of the hard work of our community partners that have brought this to the forefront, and our city leaders as well. So congratulations, and looking forward to folks having the opportunity to make their voices heard when we know that so many students in SFUSD are from immigrant families. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. And up next, we have another city partner, which is the Department of Elections, and we have Eve Peña Avila with us. Thank you, Eve, for being here.
Certainly. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. So thank you for the opportunity to be here and to represent our wonderful department, the Department of Elections. For us, it's exciting to share the latest figures. So as of yesterday, we have 123 registered non-citizen voters, and 33 of them have already participated in this February 15th election. So for me too, this is an exciting time to share that the voter registration deadline is fast approaching. It will be this Monday, January 31st. But of course, for us as an outreach division for the Department of Elections, we will continue to be out in community, sharing information with folks that it's not too late to register to vote. We, of course, want folks to have that opportunity to receive their vote by mail ballot, because everyone who's registered by the deadline will automatically receive that so that they can vote in a safe way. But here in San Francisco too, just for us, it's a continued commitment to our community, to our eligible voters, to have access to the ballot box. So not only will voters be able to have their vote by mail ballot if they registered in time, but there's still ample opportunity to participate in the upcoming election, even through election day. So we'll continue to share this information with our communities, bring the information in our threshold languages in addition to English so that folks have awareness. We're excited to share that, you know, this is the first time that voters will also have a new service available to them. So there's 34 official ballot drop-off boxes that are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for folks to be able to drop off their ballots and be able to take advantage of those services. In addition, through election day, the department voting center will be open Monday through Friday, and the last 2 weekends before election day will also be open, you know, throughout the week, even weekends from 10 to 4. So lots of opportunities to still come in person and register even after the deadline. Lots of opportunities to still vote even through election day. And on election day itself, here again in the city, we take pride that you know, there's so much access to the ballot box. So 314 polling places will be open throughout the city from 7 in the morning to 8 p.m. at night. So lots of opportunities to participate, even for folks that might miss this January 31st deadline. In San Francisco, we're just continuously committed to ensure that we're providing a voter education and opportunities to participate if we have that right to vote, and also you know, continue the conversation of additional ways to get involved. And one of those two is an invitation to participate in our advisory committees. So the Language Accessibility Advisory Committee, for example, is one of those opportunities for folks to be able to chime in and help us be able to bring our voter education materials in an accessible way to San Francisco voters. So thank you so much. If I can be of service, you know, our department, our outreach team, myself, we're committed to ensure that we're providing voter education and those opportunities to access the ballot box. Thank you.
Thank you, Eve, and thank you for that wonderful information. It's very useful. With that, that also concludes our speaker list. We want to make sure that you have all of our contacts in the Department of Election contact if you need any additional information on how to register or any additional assistance for any parent that you want to refer who's a non-citizen and needs a little bit of extra help or has any extra questions around registering. You can contact any of these organizations. I want to take this moment to appreciate all of you for sticking with us through tech difficulties. And I want to send a warm virtual hug to everyone and really thank our speakers and allies for being here and really taking the time to celebrate this victory. Thank you to our the sponsors of this legislation, Supervisor Chan and Supervisor Melgar, once again, and really taking a stance of making sure that everyone is being heard. Voting is our voice, as Supervisor Chan mentioned, and it takes all of us. It takes partnerships between the city, nonprofits, and community to continue to fortify this right. And we understand that there can be many barriers to registering and voting, but our message is that our communities are stronger when we all participate. So even if you can't vote, we can all get involved. We can get involved as leaders in our ELAC, leaders in our schools, leadership programs, attending candidate forums, just like Norma and our promotora mentioned. So the work has just begun. We still have a long road to make registering and voting safer, and continuing to encourage all of our non-citizen parents to vote. So we really thank you for being here. If you have any questions, now is the time. We do have a Q&A box. So please, if you have any questions for one of our panelists, for myself, or anybody else in our collaborative, we'd be happy to answer it. All right. Well, thank you once again, everyone, for being here. Our contact information has been there throughout. Please feel free to forward any questions to us. Thank you again, and I hope you have a good Friday and you enjoy your weekend. Thank you, everyone.